Wow, it's happened. The WBO ranks Shawn Showtime Porter number 1. We all know who has that WBO welterweight belt, Terence Crawford. Could this set up a potential collision course between the two friends, Bud Crawford and Showtime Shawn Porter? Let's talk about that. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of that notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Listen, use my links below. I got the ESPN Plus link. It does help the channel. Lots of content. You'll see a commercial at the end of this video. Check that out. ESPN Plus, sign up. There's some good UFC cards coming up. You don't want to miss out on the content. BTS exclusives. They got docu-series and documentaries. Use my link to help the channel and help us grow and do more, get equipment, things like that. Very interesting news from the WBO. Make sure you guys smash the like button as well and share this video. Showtime Shawn Porter, he just fought PBC main event on Fox, and dominant victory. You guys will see on the screen. He fought a German fighter, little known, guy that was somehow they're listed at the same height, but the guy was clearly taller than him. And, you know, guy had a cool record. No one really had heard of him. 22-0. He was ranked. And Shawn Porter he was just too much for him. Oh, the guy was overmatched, showed heart, things like that. In doing so, the new rankings have come out with the WBO. We all know that Terence Bud Crawford has that WBO belt. This was once labeled kind of the top rank belt because you typically seen fighters with top rank or who were with HBO when top rank was with HBO, you know, HBO fighters, top rank fighters, etc., with the WBO belt. But things are changing possibly. You know, the WBO was also on PBC telecast, not necessarily recognized, but now they're in an effort maybe to change their image or whatever the situation is. They have now ranked in the latest rankings at welterweight champion Terence Crawford. He beat Jeff Horn. I was at that fight. Boom. Number 1, the number 1 highest ranked person is Shawn Porter. Wow. Now, you have to understand how sanctioning bodies work. Just because Shawn Porter is ranked number 1, you know, things can change. I don't foresee it changing, but ranked number 2 is Virgil Ortiz Jr. That's a Golden Boy fighter and a PBC fighter. Who knows? Maybe they rule for a final eliminator. Maybe they say Shawn Porter go directly to fight Terence Crawford. And that's where things are going to get real interesting, because you look at the champion, Terence Crawford. He renewed and signed an extension, much to the dismay of some fans with Top Rank, because most of his contemporaries are aligned with PBC. Then you have a PBC fighter, number 1 ranked now as of the latest rankings. Then you have a Golden Boy fighter who's on DAZN, and that's Virgil Ortiz Jr. ranked at number 2. So very interesting stuff. And then rounding out that top 3 ranked list is Mikey Garcia. So Virgil Ortiz with Golden Boy and DAZN as of the recording of this video. Shawn Porter's with PBC, Fox, or Showtime, and Crawford being with Top Rank ESPN. So it's going to be interesting to see if this leads to anything and a potential fight is made. You guys will remember, if you follow my channel, that Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter, their names have been analogous and synonymous with one each other in recent memory. People looking to see Terence Crawford potentially get a big name. And I told you Crawford, the positioning he was in, and I predicted this well before it actually manifested. Now it's so obvious, you see a lot of people saying it, but I said it beforehand. Crawford is a phenomenal talent, a great fighter. I've covered and followed his career. I've went and made the trip to Omaha several times, but the predicament he's in is the big names for him. Look at, damn, Shawn Porter is ripped right here. This man is stay in shape, stay in the gym. Kudos to that. But the predicament that Shawn Porter, or excuse me, Terence Crawford is in is he's so good, people don't want to see him fight unknown people, because we've seen him fight something like, you know, Ndongo and guys like Mean Machine who didn't have the biggest brand. So as a result, you know, to get him over the hump, we know he's skilled and we know where his brand is and stuff like that, to get him over the hump to potential superstardom, he has to fight the bigger names. Shawn Porter versus Crawford is a good fight. Their names have been linked to each other, but Crawford doesn't seem so keen on making the fight, in my opinion. He said stuff like, we're friends. Between him and his team, Bomac or whoever, Team Crawford has said that that's not really where we're looking. You could pull it up. Terence Crawford did an interview with DAZN, and you can pull his direct quotes because I don't want to misquote him. But he said, if the fight presents itself, that's one thing, but that's not really where we're looking. Bomac and Team Crawford and whatnot have been very vocal about really wanting the champions, Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence. I told you guys that that's not really realistic. The welterweight division is stacked, and you can't just concentrate your energy only on two people, because Pacquiao's a Hall of Famer. He has 70 plus fights. He's going to do whatever he wants to fight, or he's going to fight whatever makes the most sense. He's earned that. He's probably looking for the big fights that are pay-per-view. And most likely with this pandemic, he probably won't fight unless there's some type of crowd. Because if anyone is going to be losing a live gate, it's people like Pacquiao, who can command a nice sized audience. And so that's just money you're leaving on the table. So Freddie Roach has already been on record saying that Pacquiao most likely won't fight the remainder of the year. And again, that's because you'd be leaving so much money on the table, because he does bring an audience still. I've covered Pacquiao Thurman and Pacquiao Broner. Those are his last two fights. The grand arrivals for the Broner fight was lit. The Keith Thurman weigh-in, all that was lit. So he needs a big fight. So you got to rule him out because it's not really logistically, it doesn't really make sense. And then Errol Spence already has his own fight with Danny Garcia. So it leaves the guys like Shawn Porter, or even guys like Gary Russell Jr., which some people think that's a weird fight and the weight differential is too much. But in my opinion, the way Gary Russell is talking, the gloves are off. He's disrespecting and trying to embarrass Terence Crawford. So it's like people ain't going to get mad if Crawford fights Gary Russell with the amount of trash talking that Russell has done. He's trying to terrorize, and he's like the Terminator. He just won't go away. And he's trying to pester Terence Crawford into a fight. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Shawn Porter, definitely a formidable opponent. And I don't know how, he got to the number one spot, but I did peep that he's number one. Not saying I don't know how in terms of he doesn't deserve it, but I don't know where he was ranked. I didn't really peep it. And now all of a sudden he's number one. So I don't know if this PBC put in a request to have him considered higher. But if that is the case, that's a power move, because this puts pressure on Top Rank and Terence Crawford, because the walls are kind of closing in for Crawford to get one of those big fights. If you look at it, we've seen Crawford versus Jose Benavidez. Really no need for a rematch. Mean Machine, same thing. No need for a Mean Machine rematch. Besputin, guys that are aligned with Top Rank, they're not really big names for Crawford to fight. So, some people said the Kell Brook fight is an option, but I think Shawn Porter is a better option. Even though Kell Brook beat Shawn Porter, this was years ago. Shawn Porter looks to be the fresher. He's the guy that didn't move up to 54. And Kell Brook also said he couldn't make welterweight anymore. And now all of a sudden he can make it again. So I just ultimately don't know how much credit that Terence Crawford will get. I don't have a problem with the fight stylistically if Kell Brook is the same. But there are a lot of questions with his eyes being damaged and stuff like that. Him not fighting at welterweight since 2017. So better options would clearly be guys like Shawn Porter. Rugged style. I want to see how Crawford would deal with a guy who's as abrasive and, in your face, stay in your chest, and has power. Some people criticize Shawn Porter's last opponent or performance, saying that he should have stopped him. But I noticed a lot of old media, they have these standards for black fighters primarily. They'll look at Shawn Porter and say, oh, why didn't you stop this Formella guy? We've never heard of him. You should have stopped him. Some guys are just tough where you're not always going to stop him. Old media never says this to guys like Tyson Fury with the complexion for the protection when he's fighting Otto Wallin. Not only did Tyson Fury not stop Otto Wallin, who is also an unheralded, unknown guy at that higher level, right? He almost got stopped himself in the 12th round. But once again, old media's not realistic when it comes to black fighters oftentimes. And they'll say Shawn Porter, despite dominating and beating up the Formella every single round, he had to go the extra mile and stop him. But Tyson Fury's 6'9", bigger than most heavyweights at the elite level, and he outweighs him, and he's leaning on him and grinding on him, pause. And he didn't stop Otto Wallin, and he almost got stopped. He had nasty cuts. The fight really could have been stopped on cuts, and then Otto Wallin would have been up at that particular point. But media has no criticism for that. So why do they have the same criticism for Shawn Porter? Kind of makes you wonder. But we know what time it is. We know why they have the criticism for certain fighters and none for others. When you have the complexion for the protection, these things go under the radar. So me personally, I didn't have no problem with Shawn Porter's last opponent selection because he's fought a tried and true, tested resume. He's fought the Kell Brooks, the Broners. He even came down to weight for the Broner fight, catch weight. He fought Errol Spence, gave him a definite run for his money. Some people argue the knockdown was the difference maker that edged the fight to Errol Spence, but he was game in all those fights. Keith Thurman, he brought it to Keith Thurman. He had wars with these guys. So I don't mind him taking a tune-up or a lighter touch. He stopped Berto, legendary guys. You know what I'm saying? So he fought Danny Garcia. He fought everyone he needed to. So I had no problem with the Formella fight or the performance. I think he looked sharp. He looked hard to deal with. The only thing that happened is he didn't knock him down or didn't stop him. But again, that's boxing. You're not going to stop or knock down everyone. Tyson Fury did. He's a gargantuan heavyweight, 6'9", leaning on Otto Wallin, who's much smaller, and he didn't stop him. And people still praise Tyson Fury. So we'll see. But it looks like the walls are closing in on Terence Crawford and Top Rank to try to make one of these big fights, with Shawn Porter getting elevated to the number one spot. Like Ludacris said, I'm coming for the number one spot. It's real interesting. I think it's a great fight. And, I just want the best for Crawford, but I do want to see him. It's going to be hard to retain the number one. I told you Crawford was my number one pound for pound fighter, but it's going to be hard to retain that unless Top Rank and his team can get him the big fights, period. Because the doesn't wait for anyone. The world keeps turning, and Errol Spence, if he beats Danny Garcia, if Jermell Charlo and Jamal Charlo beat their next opponents, Derevyanchenko and Rosario, you have to factor all these things in and start placing and moving people on the proverbial pound for pound list. So if you're not fighting the highest level of competition and other people are, then it's going to be hard to just reserve your spot on the pound for pound, despite having skill. There's a lot of guys who have skill, but that skill is not ultimately realized. Like, in my opinion, Shakur Stevenson, he's a dope skilled fighter, but he hasn't had the names that'll really show and put him on the pound for pound list. Or Demetrius Boo Boo Andre, tons of skill, but he still has to fight those certain names within his threshold or his division that would solidify that. And that's kind of where Crawford's at. We know what Crawford's done, but to level up, new levels, new devils, and to get to that higher echelon, we have to see him with the top names. And I know he's gunning for it in the form of Pacquiao or Errol Spence, but if you can't get them straight away, there's other guys. Shawn Porter's now ranked number one with the WBO. And you rarely seen the WBO show that type of love to PBC fighters. So hopefully they can get something done. They can put the friendship aside. There's several friends that have fought Errol Spence and Lamont Peterson. They said they are definitely friendly. Errol Spence said he was looking up into Lamont Peterson, who was further along in his career when he first came in the game. So, it happens. Sometimes you have to fight your friends. So I don't know their friendship, but Shawn Porter, the way he depicts it, he says like he's willing to fight Crawford if everything makes sense and they both agree. So now with the WBO making this ranking, I don't know. It's because it'll look bad if Crawford vacates his belt or something if he gets ordered to fight Shawn Porter. And that's kind of why I like what I think it was Danny Garcia. I've heard and seen other fighters say it, but I think Danny Garcia said, I don't have no friends in or around my weight division. I might have acquaintances or we're cool, like if I see you, we could dap up or something, but He don't have friends in his weight division. And that's kind of why it's hard, because it is a sport. People forget about that. You don't want to get too close to someone necessarily that you have to fight. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. You know, the only exception is maybe if it's someone your blood brother. Like, I would never expect Jermell and Jermall Charlo to fight, or Vladimir Klitschko and Vitaly, because that, you know, that's your actual brother, you know. But outside of that, you know, it's kind of hard to have real tight friends, because if you're both that real and that good, you know, and you both have the placements and stuff, people are going to ultimately expect you to kind of fight, you know. So that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Crawford versus Shawn Porter. This could be something in the future. Do you think it will happen? But like I said, if it gets to a point where a belt is vacated, then that's going to be a bad look, because, I mean, that just ruins everything. Crawford saying he wants to fight Errol Spence, so he shouldn't really be in the position to not have his belt. So they may have to fight, friends or not. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Shawn Porter ranked #1 with the WBO. Things just got a whole lot more interesting. Smash the like button, subscribe to my channel. I drop daily content. Use my affiliate links if you want to help the channel grow. I'm working on trying to build a studio. I got to get some prices and logistics on what I need. But if you guys want to contribute in any type of way, let me know. We about to turn up. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. We working. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more sports. Get unlimited access to premium content with an ESPN Plus subscription. ESPN Plus offers a variety of content, including specials, behind the scenes, docuseries like Bruce Lee's Be Water, and much more. With an ESPN Plus subscription, you get access to a ton of classic archive fights and replays from boxing and the UFC. Big names like, "Hi, I'm Mike Tyson. Come and watch my fight." Floyd Mayweather, "Easy work. I'm rich." And Manny Pacquiao, "Yes, it's up to my promoter." Just to name a few. If that's not enough, you could get the ESPN bundle, which includes ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus. All 3 apps, one low price. You don't want to miss out. Make sure you guys click that link in the description box of all of my videos. Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.